Okay, former President Trump back in court again for the third day of his civil fraud trial. He's been there all 3 days, and he's been speaking to reporters, during most of the breaks. The judge, though, did issue a partial gag order, which bars Mr. Trump from making comments about the court staff. This is because he attacked a judge's law clerk on social media. So he's not supposed to say anything at all about the staff. That post, the social media post, has since been deleted, but according to the judge, the post was emailed to millions of recipients. Let's talk about this case a little bit now. Attorney Brian Claypool joins us. This has always been the question with the former president, not just the civil case, some of the criminal cases as well, is how aggressive would some of these judges be, because we know how aggressive he's going to be on social media with issuing gag orders. What did you make of this ruling?
Hey, Connell, not surprised at all. In fact, I think former President Trump's already gone beyond what's reasonably expected in a courtroom. I've had plenty of high-profile criminal trials. I had one case in South Florida involving Dalia Dippolito, and I was instructed by the judge to not make any comments at all regarding the case. I know that's a criminal case, but look, you can't be making remarks about the judge, about the staff, and you've got to be careful, too, about making any rulings or any comments about rulings that are involved in the case.
Right. He's still talking about the case. I mean, it's not like he's not maybe mentioning specific staff members or the clerk anymore, but this is President Trump earlier speaking outside the courtroom. Let's listen, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Here he is.
They've weaponized justice in our country. This trial is a disgrace. I borrowed the money. I paid back the money in full, 100%. There were no defaults. There were no letters of reprimand. The banks were extremely happy, and in many cases, I paid the money back early. And then I got sued years later by this horrible attorney general, this woman that ran for governor and failed.
So you're talking about Tish James, the attorney general in the state of New York, and he's talking about the case. It's you heard a horrible case and all this, but it's not specifically, I suppose, in violation of the gag order because it's not about the staff. Is that what is that how this works?
I got to tell you, I mean, in most average cases, a full gag order would be issued. I mean, these kind of comments during a trial would not be permitted. There should be a 100% gag order on President Trump. The only way I really think he's getting away with it, Connell, is because it's a non-jury trial, right? The reason why a judge issues a gag order is so that jurors are not contaminated or influenced by comments made by a party to a case. And to that end, look, I think Trump's lawyers blew it. They should have requested a jury trial. They should have brought it up on the first day of the trial.
And by the way, they could have requested it and didn't, right? Because a lot of people keep wondering whether he could have had a jury trial. They never asked for one, isn't that right? Or
exactly, yeah. Connell. Are you kidding me? If there was ever a case where you need a jury trial, it's here. And under the 7th Amendment to the Constitution, in a civil case, you're entitled to a jury trial. And look, I've done it before. I've forgotten to check a box requesting a jury trial, but rest assured, if I show up on the first day of a trial, I'm saying, Your Honor, I need a jury trial. And I guarantee if Trump's lawyers had done that, this judge would have granted a jury trial. And why they didn't, it's just is incredible, because this judge already issued a ruling before the trial started saying former President Trump committed fraud.
And
why would you want him to be the juror?
Yeah, there's the judge right now in the case that we're showing on the screen, but the back and forth with the former president that we just played specifically spoke about the New York State Attorney General, who did speak a short time ago. So let's listen to what she had to say, and then Brian will come back and talk about that. Here she is.
This case was brought simply because it was a case where individuals have engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And I will not sit idly by and allow anyone to subvert the law. And lastly, I will not be bullied.
I will not be bullied. The end of that clip from Letitia James. What do you make of all of this? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a public spectacle outside the courtroom, but I suppose doesn't affect in any way, or shouldn't, what the judge is dealing with inside the courtroom.
Yeah, Connell, this should not be going on. This is like a political circus in a courtroom. The attorney general should not be making comments about the case, and nor should former President Trump be making comments about the case. That's the sanctity of a trial. And this judge is letting them go too far. And I think what Letitia James is doing is she's baiting President Trump. She wants him to testify in this case. And if Trump makes the mistake of testifying in this trial, Connell, rest assured that he's going to be bordering on triggering potential criminal charges for perjury. If Trump makes a false statement during this trial, you don't think that Miss James is ready to have him indicted on a perjury charge. So President Trump needs to be super careful about whether he testifies in this case.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.